Home and Away Spoilers Can Tane catch Stevie's stalker. Whilst Stevie had been filming scenes for director Nelson Giles's new romcom movie, All Our Tomorrows, alongside co-star Troy Morrison, Stevie's bodyguard Cash had briefly gone up to Salt. There was no immediate threat known to Stevie after all. Her stalker Sidney Wickham was locked up weeks ago and is due to have his trial this week. Stevie had re-employed Cash simply because, in a business where people you trust are hard to come by, she felt safe in his company. Not wishing to leave Eden on her own in Summer Bay, Stevie had convinced Nelson and the producers to move the entire production to town. But everything changed in a split second when Cash received a phone call from his bosses that made his run blood cold. They had just discovered that Sidney had somehow been released from prison. Realizing the danger Stevie could be in, Cash raced down to the beach, but it was too late. A sniper amongst the bushes was already lining up his target, and a shot rang out across the beach, with Stevie collapsing into Cash's arms. As we return to the scene next week, Alf wonders what on earth is going on as dozens of people run up to the surf club in a panic. A passing Troy tells him that there's a shooter on the loose, so Alf orders everyone to get inside as he rings the emergency services. Down on the beach, Cash holds Stevie in his arms as they wait for the paramedics. Nelson thinks they should move her up to the surf club. They're sitting ducks where they are, but Cash knows that it could do even more damage. As Cash tells Nelson to head up to the club himself, Stevie tells Cash that he should go also, but he refuses to leave her side. As sirens approach, Stevie tells Cash that she's scared, and as he does his best to keep Stevie talking, she eventually loses consciousness. Bree has been informed that there's a gunshot injury coming in. But when Stevie is handed over by paramedic Carla, Bree momentarily freezes. They need to work quickly as Stevie is deteriorating fast. It's mayhem inside the surf club as everyone tries to come to terms with what's happening. There's been no sign of the gunman, with Alf informing everyone that they must remain there until told it's safe to leave by the police. When Nelson tells Alf that it must have been Stevie's stalker that fired the shot, Troy searches online and discovers that Sidney was released following a mistrial. And he came straight here to finish what he started, Troy angrily adds, before bemoaning Stevie for bringing this mess to their movie. Things quickly flare up between Nelson and Troy before Alf is forced to step in. With police swarming the bay, Cash rings Eden to update her, warning her to stay indoors. When she relays the news to Remy and Felicity, Remy insists on going to the hospital. Eden goes with him, with Flick returning home and locking the door. Flick rings Tane, who is out getting some fresh air before his court appearance, and warns him that a shooter is on the loose. Naturally, it's Tane who then immediately spots a suspicious-looking Sidney walking briskly across the parkland with a large rifle bag. Tane chases Sidney onto flat beach before Sidney swiftly turns around and whacks Tane across the head with the rifle bag. The impact sends Tane flying, and he crashes onto the sand holding his head. Sidney could easily finish the job, but instead decides to carry on, having decided that he has somewhere else to be. Remy rushes into the ED, and Bree is forced to face her ex-boyfriend as he asks whether his new love is going to pull through. Knowing that Stevie is in a bad way, Bree initially doesn't know how to answer, before promising Remy that Stevie will be okay. When Flick can't get hold of Cash, she decides to risk leaving the house to search for Tane. The bay is eerily quiet as she walks through the abandoned diner cart, before she spots a figure lying on the beach nearby. Flick races over to Tane, praying that he's okay. Thankfully Tane comes round on hearing Flick's voice, and whilst he's nursing a head wound, it seems he's largely okay. Flick finally gets hold of Cash and he heads down to the beach to pick him up and take them back to the hospital. But back in the ED, Stevie quickly deteriorates, and Bree is forced to perform chest compressions. Bree desperately tries to revive Stevie through several rounds of adrenaline as Levi gently tries to tell Bree that she is gone. Bree doesn't want to give up though, having made her promise to Remy. Sadly, Bree eventually has to call it, Stevie is dead. Bree steels herself to deliver the heartbreaking news to Remy. She feels she owes it to him to tell him herself. Back in the bay, as a devastated and weary Cash returns home, little does he realize that Sidney is there waiting for him.
Các bạn vừa theo dõi một sản phẩm của Home and Away Spoilers Today. Xin chào.